Tony Nash.
Dale, good morning.
Welcome. How are you, Tony? It's good to talk to you.
Okay. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I want to
Interesting.
acknowledge that last time you were on, you were constructive the euro. Uh, I, you're probably surprised I remember that, but
I am.
for some strange reason, I remember what people say when I interview them, and that was a good call. Excellent call. So,
Great.
what's up? For those of you who don't know, uh, that Tony does have his own uh, deal with complete intelligence, and except for the one time he had me on, it wasn't that. Then it wasn't complete intelligence.
Very
It was
intelligent, Dale.
extraterrestrial
Yeah. So,
intelligence. Go
so
ahead,
just to
buddy.
give everybody a quick overview. So, CI is in Complete Intelligence is an AI driven platform. So we do a little. We don't do intraday forecasts. We'll do things like monthly interval forecast for pretty much everything there is out there in markets. Not small stocks, but we do, currencies, commodities, individual stocks, equities. We do international stocks, all sorts of things. So that's what we do. There's a new forecast up every Monday because again, we're not doing intraday or daily intervals. So we have a new forecast up every Monday. So
Okay.
it's interesting you talk about the euro. I was just looking at our euro forecast and we are not as constructive as we were before. We do see a bit of short-term weakness in the euro, let's say over the next 2 months, and then we see a bit of strength returning toward the end of the year.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so that's that's kind of not. I think there's a view that the euro is maybe seeing some very very temporary weakness, but we don't necessarily see it that way. And partly is what you were saying about the Fed. There had been an expectation for a while that we are going to see 50, but I think we're going to see a 25, but I think we're going to see an unhappy 25,
Okay.
meaning.
Yeah, that's what I think. You mean by with risk? Risk won't be happy about it.
Right, exactly. And
Okay.
I think it's starting to dawn on people, we had all this excitement, Fed rate cuts are coming. And people are starting to realize, wait, Fed rate cuts are coming, right? And that's not necessarily a positive thing. The Fed cuts when they see risk around the corner. They're trying to offset that risk that they see around the corner. So we may see jobs data, but who believes jobs data, right?
Yeah, with
Um,
that
you know,
bid, well, you mean because of like that 800,000 revision?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
2 years ago the revision was 300,000. Last year it was 500,000. This year it's 800,000. So are they going to revise? If you look at that progression, are
That's
they
a
going to
great
revise
point, Tony. I mean, what
1.2 million next year? I mean, who trusts that data,
well,
right? Is
people
it?
trade off it. I guarantee you, even though people don't trust it, that Friday there'll be huge market reactions.
Oh, of course. No,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, because people are, they're trading the top line number, but they're also trying to outguess the algos, right? And so they
Yeah.
have to trade the number. You can't say I'm going to wait for the revision and then trade the revision. Nobody cares. So,
It's only one trade a year, too. You'd go bananas.
right, exactly. And so, you have to trade the news. And but really in the back of I think a lot of people's minds is this is really more PR than it is an official print. And so we're going to trade the PR because, BLS could be revising down 1.2 million jobs this time next year, right? Instead of just 800. So we have no idea. And so we're seeing, a little bit of weakness coming up in the year, not a lot, 109-ish. And
Okay.
so, we think it'll stay in that range for a couple months or whatever. But and then you were talking about the Canadian sorry, I heard you talking about the Aussie dollar. And we see strength in the Aussie dollar going into, October. And then we see it turn around a little bit going into November and the end of the year. So, um, it's interesting watching the Aussie dollar. I think it's where a lot of people want to be, and at least almost as a risk off move.
Well,
And
that's okay. That's a switch because Aussie was always more vulnerable during
yep.
periods of risk off. So you're saying that people want to own Aussie for risk off?
Well, I think there's uncertainty in Asian currencies. And a lot of
Okay,
that move in Aussie is people kind of moving out of Asian currencies because that's where they are. They're
interesting.
in Malaysia, they're in India, they're in, wherever.
Yeah.
And so, they're looking for some place that they can put their money for a short period of time. So we're
Because
seeing a
this
little
is
bit of,
a pretty bullish formation in my view,
yeah,
Tony. I'm looking
exactly.
to buy it around 6.5 if we get it, but you look at the weekly and we start taking out this horizontal line, the measured move is pretty big.
Yep.
It's like 74.
Yeah, and so that's what we're seeing there. And then just a bit, but again, we're not expecting a major move in Aussie dollar. But if we look around to like the S&P and the Nasdaq, we do see continued weakness through at least October in stocks.
Wow. Well,
Uh,
then we're going to have
so
a, then we're going to take out, if it's going to last that long, and that's really not that long. I mean,
mm-mm.
you're only talking about 3, 4 weeks into October. So,
No, we're looking at like 53.50 or 53.80, somewhere in there.
okay.
It's not, we're not talking about going down to 3,500 or anything. It's just a short term. And our expectation is, and has been for months, the data continues to come in consistently. Post-election, things look pretty bullish post-election. And I think some people are just waiting for clarity. What position is the Fed going to take? What's going to happen in the new administration, whether it's a Harris or a Trump administration, we don't know. But I think on some level, people are just looking for clarity. You had mentioned NVIDIA in the previous segment. We see NVIDIA going down to about 105-ish. Now you were saying 90 would be a pretty bad read for NVIDIA, and we're seeing about 105-ish. So we don't see the complete rug pull on NVIDIA happening, at least with the way things are right
Got to
now.
buy it today then.
Well, it depends on your horizon, right?
Yeah.
So but we're seeing kind of again, end of the year, things really start to come back for NVIDIA, and things could be, potentially really positive after that.
Oh, you don't see the August low being taken out. So would you, okay. So with your ideas, you also have to know where you're wrong and what you're going to risk, right? So if you're buying it around,
Absolutely.
you like 105, uh, as your risk, the August lows on a position
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
it could hit lower than that, but we're looking at kind of a range of 105-ish. And of course, we could hit lower. We could go to, just below 100 for a very short term, like
Yeah.
a day or so. But we don't necessarily see it staying below that for long,
Okay.
um, because there's this new monopoly case or whatever that's taken out by the feds against NVIDIA. I'm not really sure how, what that has in terms of efficacy, because it is such a new space. It's really hard to say that they're a monopolist in what they're doing. There are all sorts of chip makers. So kind of how, I don't understand what their case is against NVIDIA.
Okay. Anything in the metals, Tony? Silver had a nice little pullback. Looks like
Yeah,
that
let's
might,
let's go to oil first, okay? Because
okay,
I had
sure.
heard you guys talking about oil, so I pulled up an oil chart. We do see WTI continue to fall until December.
Wow.
So we see WTI around the 70 range in December. So I know some people who are a little bit more bearish on WTI than we are, but we see things going down to 70. And maybe that's just election kind of positioning and people trying to push down prices. We see silver coming back to 27-ish, something like that. We don't see, where is it today? Sorry, I haven't checked yet, but
It's turning up. It's up 14 cents right now.
okay, yeah. So we see silver, let's say in October, going down just below 27. So we see it around, averaging around 28 this month and kind of high 26s or around 27 in October. But then we see things coming back and again, most of our approaches see strength in metals toward the end of the year. And so, that's kind of where things are going. So weakness in crude, strength in metals, um, dollar generally, I guess, against the euro, we see a little weakness, or a little strength coming in for the next couple of months, but then toward the end of the year, we do see things coming back in the dollar as well.
Okay, you have a view on yields, Tony? There's a
Uh,
10-year.
I do, yeah. I mean, look, yields are something that we see them weak until the end of the year, and then we see a little bit of strength coming back, but not a huge amount. Um, Now, if Harris is elected, what am I? There is a possibility that Gary Gensler comes in Treasury, and Yellen has really messed up the Treasury market. And so there is an expectation that Gensler will come in and really sort out that Treasury market and kind of fix a lot of the kind of short-term issues that she's put in.
What
Um,
what is it? The lack of liquidity, like the bid
yeah,
offer on, yeah, the bid that's been going on for a long time. It used to be the tightest spread in the world,
yeah,
bid offer. Now you have to pay a few ticks to
yeah.
get the deal done.
Right, exactly. And so, she's been extremely short term. And it looks like, the expectation would be that he would come in and fix things and really address kind of the longer end as well. Um,
Will
so
he
now
will he embrace crypto this time?
you know what? I don't get the sense that he will aggressively embrace it, but I think it's something that at some point you have to kind of allow, if that makes sense. So, it's possible that he pushes against it, but I don't necessarily see that. It's kind of just become one of those things that it's almost like legalization of marijuana, right? There was pushback in certain places for a while, and then now it's become kind of status quo inevitable. And so I think crypto from the kind of Gary Genslers of the world, there has been initial pushback, but I think over time it just becomes this fait accompli where, he has to accept it. So,
Okay.
and Trump has said if he's elected, it's okay. He's going to push crypto and, all this stuff. So I'm just not quite sure who Trump's Treasury Secretary would be. So that's kind of up in the air. There's a little bit of uncertainty around that.
Well, has your view changed? Because I have friends and followers and people, and I believe one of my friends, he's a friend, not just a follower, and he watches your show, and I think it was during the transition of the ticket, and after the convention, you guys made a call that Harris has it locked up. Do you still believe that?
Oh, that was Albert Marco.
Oh yeah, Albert, right? Yeah.
He's pretty convinced that Harris has it locked up, and he's very convinced that Trump won't be able to get Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
Hmm.
That's not my view.
Okay.
Albert's view is really that if the Republicans focus on Wisconsin, That's really the battleground for this election. I don't necessarily see it that way. I actually think that Trump has a possibility of getting Pennsylvania. He definitely has Ohio, um, Georgia. He has it's a reasonable possibility of getting North Carolina, reasonable possibility of getting even Arizona. I think he has a reasonable possibility of getting. So I think I think it's a close call. I think it's really hard for anybody to say they know what's happening in this
Okay,
election.
well then, how is there going to be? How do you think we're going to find out, and how long will it take before we have? Will they?
February? I'm kidding.
No, go
Um,
ahead. I mean, it won't come until after the inauguration.
yeah,
Huh?
exactly. I think you're going to have places that kind of for the drama of it draw things out. And so Dale, I know you're pretty young, so you may not know this. There's a book put out in the early 90s called Means of Ascent. It's the history of LBJ's 1948 senatorial election, which is random piece, right? But he won that election by stringing out the count and getting 200 more votes in the border counties of Texas, and they reported 6 days after the election was over.
Yeah,
And so, will we see that in the 2024 election? I think it's a possibility, but I also feel like the American people, are very tired of this stuff. People are very tired of dramatic elections. They're very tired of just the questions around election counting and tallying and this stuff. And so, I think we'll see an amazing amount of pushback if that's the case.
yeah.
I think there will be a lot more legal action taken and more aggressive legal action taken if we have places that aren't finalizing their count for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I just think that people have had enough of it and they're just tired of it. It doesn't matter the side. I think they're just tired of
Oh,
um,
yeah. I think the country is angry and exhausted at the same time.
exactly. Yeah, people are just exhausted by this. That's a great word.
Yeah.
And so I think Americans are going to push really hard to know on election night. And if it takes 2 or 3 days, uh, we're gonna have some really angry people. And I don't think it matters which side. I think both sides they're just fed up with it.
Okay. You do anything in nat gas? I mean, I know I look at a screen, and when you have a red day like you had yesterday, and you find a market that is not affected by it, and that's what nat gas did. I know it's a very difficult trade, but
Yeah,
had a pretty good day and held prior lows, and that's with crude getting, like you said, everyone's bearish crude. So
yeah,
maybe they're going
Dale.
to, this a sleeper, maybe.
I'm really confident in a lot of our forecasts, but I'll be very honest, nat gas is not one of them. Okay.
Okay.
And I
Right.
tell people this, as I talk through our forecasts with people, we do see nat gas strength over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And then we see, beyond that, it's really hard to tell. And the error rates after a couple of months really kind of flare out, and they can be tight or they could be really high. And as you know, that's a tough
Yeah.
market to forecast. So we do see things rising a bit over the next say month and 2 months. Beyond that, it's just not something that I would be confident calling, because we do see, once we hit 3 months, our error rates rise pretty dramatically.
Okay. Well, I think you gave us a lot of clarity today.
Thank you,
So,
Dan.
I,
That makes
I
me
just,
happy.
yeah, excellent interview. I just want to show people your website.
Thank you. We're at completeintel.com,
There it
and
is.
just come in for 25 bucks a month. You get forecast for 1,800 items renewed every Monday morning.
And you could follow Tony at on X
Yep,
at Tony Nash
Tony
Nerd.
Nash Nerd. Yeah, I'm
Should
nerd,
be
and
an easy
I'm a
one to
nerd and I'm proud of
remember.
it.
But it's one of the best nerd forecasts across the board that I've heard in a long time from a nerd. So,
Thank you, Dale.
anyway, you're just being humble. You're not a nerd.
Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that.
You're a Top Gun. All right.
Thank you.
Tony Nash, everybody, check him out. Complete Intelligence. Albert is a thinker as well. So check these guys out. And could
Thanks,
be
Dale.
part of
Have a great
could be
day.
part could be part of your intelligence gathering. You too, Tony, my trading warrior brother. Go get him.
Thank you, and you.
All right. So, everyone, you could join the team in 20 on the morning edge. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and good hunting today. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.